So I've been mulling this over for a little while now, and I don't really understand it. And I'm hoping that someone in this video is going to be able to explain to me how the hypocrisy is working here, where it's one rule for one, especially when it comes to the PlayStation community. What applies to them will never apply to someone else. And the rules that they instigate for one thing will never apply to the other because Xbox bad. And in my opinion, the way the Steam machine has unveiled itself and the way the PlayStation Nation has decided to react to this comment, to this news, has proven that the Xbox tax isn't just real, it's been there for a long time. And everyone, including the media, the big pundits out there like Linus Tech Tips, they've all ousted themselves as perpetrators of the Xbox tax because it is 100% real. And in this video, I'm hoping someone can maybe turn around and tell me that I'm not seeing things correctly. But in my opinion, I am, because what I'm seeing here is one rule applies to one, but not the other. The PlayStation Nation is consistently moving that goalpost, so it doesn't affect them, but it affects other people. And this is probably one of the dumbest things I've seen in a while. And what they're actually doing is self-projecting, because it's really them that's worried about the Steam machine and not Microsoft, because Microsoft has nothing to worry about with the Steam machine. The Steam machine itself isn't going to affect Microsoft in the slightest, not even a bit, because why would it? The games are already on Steam. The games, and we're not just talking one or two games, we're talking the whole slate. They go day and date. So how is this going to affect what Microsoft is doing, which is going to be a premium product, in not this weak machine you can see here, which, to be fair, is, as the hardware engineer says, equal or better than 70% of what people have at their home, which is essentially a 7600 mobile processor, not even a desktop processor, a mobile processor. So that kind of tells you just how crazy the split between a good graphics card is in the gaming industry and what people are actually using, right? Consoles today are better than over 70% of what PC users are using. In fact, based on the graph that is shown here, you can see that Returnal will run at like 80, 99, 130 FPS at 720p low in 2025. Well, 26 actually. That's kind of crazy, right? We're talking 2026 and we're still going to be running games 720p, everything low, in order to get good frame rates. You might get this to 900p, but as you can see, it's aligned with 600 mobile and not even desktop. And we can see over here, that's confirmed as well. And then we can see over here that really the top end graphics cards, my one's sitting in this 3.48%. But once we get to the latter parts of this, the 5080, the 4090, and the 5090, combined, it's like 2% of the overall gaming survey. And this is from the Steam survey, right? So this is beyond crazy. But getting back to the original point, all these ponies and the media are saying that Microsoft is cooked. Everyone is cooked. And they're saying, well, you know, Valve beat them to the punch. And they've released a hybrid console, which, just until last week, they were saying no one wants, no one is going to use. Who wants a hybrid thing? We just want a console. But now that the Valve machine has come out, PlayStation fans are all over it. They're saying it's great, it's amazing. It's going to destroy everything that Microsoft has hoped to attain. In fact, they're saying that Microsoft might as well just bow out and go away because Valve beat them to the punch. But they're doing exactly what Microsoft is doing at a much lower end, because the one that Microsoft is working on is going to be a high-end premium product. It's going to be very powerful, and if you've seen the leaked specs for Magnus, you can see the power difference between them. It's going to be a mammoth. It's also probably going to cost that as well. So they're comparing like a £300 Steam machine to a £1,000, beast of an Xbox Magnus machine. But again, just until last week before the Steam machines released, they said, who wants a hybrid? We want a console. And so enter Valve's machine, which is basically targeting that audience by putting Steam OS onto the Valve machine and calling it the Steam machine and, pushing it out there where you plug it in and it just boots up and gives you the Steam OS overlay and off you go. If you've used the Steam Deck, it's there. But they're saying that that's why it's different. It's not Windows and you don't get access to Windows. But if that's the case, well, the Xbox Ally X or Xbox Ally already has this built in. So why is that different? Why is the Xbox Ally different compared to the Steam machine? And don't forget, you can build the Steam machine right now. In fact, ETA Prime just went and did. The Steam OS can be installed on any hard drive. You can partition your hard drive and install it. You can install it on a USB, for God's sake, if you really wanted to, and boot it off a USB. The fact is, you've been able to do this not just now, but for quite some time. All Valve is doing is packaging this in a nice little box and pre-installing it. So you don't have to do that. And as I said, if this is their gotcha moment, well, why was they crying and moaning and saying all this and stuff about the Xbox Ally X? Saying it wasn't an Xbox, it was not a console, it's not this, it's a Windows PC. Well, why aren't they saying that the Steam machine is a Linux PC? Because that's essentially what it is, right? You've got full fat Linux on there that you can go into and use. Do you see where I'm talking about with the goalpost moving and the hypocrisy? But then they started talking about how this is going to destroy Xbox and they've beaten Xbox to the punch and how Xbox just doesn't have a chance. And they might, it's completely stolen their thunder. And I do think that Microsoft will probably push their announcement for this stuff to the Game Awards. I think there's a good chance we might see something or a teaser of what the casing might look like. Anything, basically. I think it's possible. Whether it will happen or not is another matter. But how is it affecting Xbox? Because what I'm seeing here is a new machine, which the PlayStation fans are calling a console, is coming into play, right? And that same console that they are calling a console that's going to challenge apparently Microsoft, well, that same console is going to play God of War. It's going to play The Last of Us, The Last of Us 2. It's going to play all of those PlayStation games. And as Sony continues their endeavor into PlayStation and PC collaborations and porting more and more games over, what I don't see here is how is this affecting Microsoft when Microsoft is saying, we're putting our games everywhere. You can play your games where you want. We're putting our games everywhere. You can play where you want. We've already established that the hardware that we've got, the Xbox Series consoles, aren't selling. And so we've pivoted to a new direction where, as a publisher, we're going to push out our games. And let's face it, Xbox is one of the biggest and best publishers out there right now. There's no disputing that, especially in the way they're churning out games. But they're saying that Microsoft is the one that is in trouble here. Microsoft is the one that this is going to hurt Microsoft a lot. And I'm just thinking to myself, hang on a minute. How is this going to affect Xbox? This is a weaker machine. It's aimed at a completely different audience. It's available today that you can do. You don't have to wait until January or February, whenever this is going to come out. You can actually build your Steam machine today. You can go and build similar specs and have it up and running right now, in fact. But yet no one is doing it. At the same time, the Steam OS isn't going to be for everyone because it can't run games that are multiplayer for the most part. Games like Call of Duty, Battlefield 6, Apex Legends, Fortnite, and so forth. These aren't just limited to those. You've got GTA Online as well within there, one of the biggest games that people spend a lot of time on. Not playable on SteamOS simply because of its problems with easy anti-cheat. Now, obviously, there's no solution for that at the moment, so they can't play it. So, how this is going to actually be a problem and affect it, I don't know. But here is the thing that will happen. And this is why I said that the Steam machine is threatening PlayStation. Because now Steam has a console, according to PlayStation fans, right? They're calling it a console to try and say that this is basically putting Xbox in jeopardy. But what they don't realize by saying that this is a console is that another console now has their first party games with its own achievement system. And it plays the games better. Yeah, let that sink in. Let that sink in. They're basically championing a console that has their games and will continue to get their games, which is really a direct rival to them because now they've actually porting their games and have become themselves a third party publisher by putting their games on because previously it was just PC and that doesn't really count. But now, based on their own terminology that this is a console, they're all saying it. Well, now they're technically putting their games on a third party published, a third party console. And so now they've become themselves, in a roundabout way, a third party publisher entirely because now they are supporting the Steam console. So, how is this threatening Xbox? I don't see it. I really don't see how this is threatening Xbox. This doesn't make any sense to me. If anyone in the chat can actually tell me, I'd love to know. But what I'm seeing here is a direct threat to PlayStation. Valve is there saying, hey, I got all these games, and then even more games. And then I got your games. So they should come to me. So you've only got the Xbox and PlayStation games, right? PlayStation? But I got your PlayStation games, I got the Xbox games. I can even do Nintendo if you really want to go down that route, wink, wink. But I also got a bunch of games that you'll never have. And before anyone says, well, that kind of applies to Xbox as well, Microsoft has already said we're at a get console war kind of business. Their next machine is going to be a hybrid, which you all said no one's going to buy. But now you're all cheering, like cheerleaders, that there's a hybrid PC console coming and it's going to destroy Xbox. No. No, it's not going to do anything to Xbox. What this is going to do is be a problem for Sony. And because the shareholders of Sony have sensed the money, they're not going to stop those PlayStation ports and they run the business. What they say goes. So you're going to see more and more games going to Steam. That is going to get closer to more day and day as they want to maximize their revenues. And you'll now be seeing PlayStation losing share to Valve's Steam machine in the most epic fashion by them cannibalizing themselves. I mean, that's basically what they're cheering for, right? You tell me, folks. This doesn't make any sense. How is this going to affect Xbox? I don't see it. Microsoft has already pivoted away. They've decided what they're doing. They are making a hybrid PC, which they said no one's going to buy, and now they're cheering for a hybrid PC that everyone's going to buy. That's the first goalpost movement because it's Steam. This just proves to you that the Xbox tax is real, right? Nothing else. They just have to console war. They have to find something that they can put out there and go Xbox bad and then jump into their little stables and start talking about it in their stables, which they, recently renamed to something called a podcast, and then start talking about Xbox bad. When all the time, I'm sure they've realized that this is going to be a massive headache for Sony because they have their games. But This is, to me, a bigger problem for Sony than it is for Microsoft, who have already established that they're putting their games everywhere. Whereas Sony is still living by the old rules. Or are they? I just think these people are living in denial. But you let me know what you think in the comment section below, because I thought this was quite amusing and hilarious. Because the way these people are championing this, these PlayStation fans championing the Steam OS and championing the new Steam machine, thinking it's going to be the Xbox's final nail in the coffin, all they're doing is actually creating a bigger monster for themselves. And they aren't, either they're stupid and ignorant and can't realize this, or they know that the Steam machine really isn't going to do anything because it can't play any of the really big major games that are the big money earners that people, a lot of millions of people play on a daily basis and are just perpetuating the Xbox tax. Either way, it's either a goalpost movement or just sheer disingenuity. Regardless of how it looks like, it only proves that the Xbox tax is real. That's the video, folks. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you for the 8,000 subs. It means the world. Let's see if we can get to 9,000 by the end of the year. I know that's a long shot. We've got November and December, but if anyone can do it, it's you. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I'll see you in the next one.